Perhaps you're pretty sure your mother-in-law disapproves of you, or you're almost positive that your cousin Crystal's snarky comment on Facebook was aimed in your direction. Maybe you know for a fact that the girls you went to high school with, who you now know only through social media, would make fun of you if they saw you trying to do something new. In all of these instances, none of these negative opinions are actually substantiated, and therefore you're really just sabotaging yourself. Nobody has said anything. Nobody has done anything. Maybe your new mother-in-law does disapprove of you, and maybe she just misses her son and feels anxious about how she'll fit into your life. Maybe your cousin Crystal was aiming that comment in your direction, but you and I both know that Crystal is the worst. She used to give you titty twisters. This is the person whose opinion you're going to worry about? The irony is, most of the time, nobody is actually thinking about you. Nobody actually cares what you're up to, and if they do, they're not judging you or making fun of you behind your back. It's not like you hang out with a bunch of ogres, right? And if they do dislike you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But more than that, assuming that someone thinks the worst of you when you have no real evidence to back that up isn't about them. It's about you. You're letting their opinion control your life, and you don't even know if they really have one. It's all in your own thoughts. You're just wrapping it up and blaming it on other people so you don't have to take responsibility. The truth is, it doesn't matter what they think of you. It matters what you think of you. Hard as it is to reconcile, someone else's opinion only holds power if you allow it to. If you actively take steps and intentionally begin to live without obsessing over what other people think, it will be the most freeing decision in your life. Excuse 9. Good girls don't hustle. I'm a hustler, baby. Jay-Z. Don't you hate it when an author starts a chapter with a quote? As a longtime book nerd, I have read approximately 70,000 novels, and the quote thing has always felt a little self-aggrandizing to me. Like, oh, just read this elegant prose from Tennyson and prepare yourself for a similar level of talent. It's even more annoying when the quote in question has literally nothing to do with the chapter you're reading. Nothing. And you find yourself wondering, is this esoteric? Am I supposed to understand the correlation between a Whitman quote and this dragon shapeshifter love story? You would be shocked to know how many books about vampires falling in love with single moms or aliens falling in love with librarians start each chapter with a random quote. Yes, I read horrendously cheesy romance novels. Stop judging me. The point is, I hate chapters starting with quotes. But this chapter was a bonus in the last book. Shout out to all of you who snagged the Hustlers edition. And I loved it so much and felt like it was such an important topic that it gave me the idea to write this book. So we're going to start with the most iconic line on hustling I can think of, a Jay-Z lyric. A bonus chapter is like Equestria or a Kardashian birthday party. Anything can happen here. So I'm bringing in Jay-Z lyrics just for my gals who are chasing down a dream, who want something more and aren't afraid of hard work and audacious goals. Let's talk about hustle. I have been an overachiever for as long as I can remember. I was a dreamer from the very beginning. I would imagine elaborate scenarios my future grown-up self would be part of. I knew what my mansion would look like, could foresee the vacations I'd take, the prince I'd marry, and the horses I'd own. Horses because, well, I was 7, and having my own horse was the ultimate fantasy. I was going to name her Calliope, and I'd only ride her wearing the special tan pants that rich equestrian-inclined girls wore in Lifetime movies circa 1991. A little girl daydreaming isn't anything unique. But perhaps what was unique was I knew even then that I could achieve anything, if I was willing to work for it. I don't remember anyone ever saying that to me. Maybe I just understood it through observation and osmosis. When you grow up in a home that struggles financially, it doesn't bother you until you're exposed to the opposite. I realized at a very young age that there were people who didn't live paycheck to paycheck, who didn't scream at each other over money, who could walk into Target and buy anything they wanted. I was 11 when my goals for my future solidified. My parents had broken up again. It happened so many times over the course of my life, I honestly cannot tell you what number it was that time. The difference in this particular instance was that my mom decided to move out, and she insisted I come with her. Nobody asked me what I wanted or gave me a say in the matter. They simply announced that it was happening. My 3 older siblings would stay with my dad in our family home, and I would move into a crappy apartment with my mom. It was one of the darker years of my childhood. I rarely had access to my siblings, and the financial strain of parents who were now dividing resources to pay for 2 places to live meant that we had even less than before. I have a photo from that time of my 11th birthday party with a handful of friends from school in this run-down, shabby apartment. I remember being embarrassed. I remember the boxed cake mix baked in an old Pyrex. I remember that we couldn't afford decorations. I remembered being hyper-aware of 2 things. First, I didn't want the kind of life where I lacked funds for special occasions. Second, it's not very convincing to assert your independence, from my mother in this case, if you don't have the financial means to back it up. I vowed to myself that day that I would be wealthy when I grew up. It was my birthday candle wish. I stood in that tiny dining room on stained carpet in front of the yard sale table, and I promised myself something better. I will never live like this when I have the ability to prevent it. I was vehement in this. Someday I would be rich. I'm not supposed to say that, I know. Social media is filled with hundreds of male CEOs and self-made entrepreneurs who tout the power of wealth and the justification for achieving it. But if you're a woman, it's frowned upon. It's impolite. It's not something good girls do.